but you cut me off.
Hello and welcome to episode number 42 of Unrelenting. This is September 19th, special Monday show 2022. I am Darren O'Neill. He is Sir Gene, or whatever alias he's going by this week.
That's good enough.
And Joe Biden, man, oh my God, what an interview last night.
Was there an interview?
Yeah, he was 60 Minutes. I don't even know why they let him do these things.
Wow, that is shocking. I'm surprised they let him.
He is so out of touch
Mm-hmm.
with reality that I really just have to wonder anybody that's still going to vote Democrat, how they can.
Mm-hmm.
Because Joe thinks it's okay. They're like the guy, Scott Pelley from 60 Minutes was the one doing the interview. And Biden's like, well, no, inflation's only gone up just like an inch over the last few months. And I'm wondering how Joe Biden measures inflation because.
In inches?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm not, to be fair, I am not good with numbers myself. And I'm not an economist, or I don't study the economy 24/7, but I've never heard anybody refer to it moving in inches.
Well, he's looking at pictures.
That's probably true. They have a big, so Joe is like a kindergarten kid, and there's like
Come on, everybody, just moved an inch.
Yeah, there's a blackboard in the room.
I don't know.
With the word economy
I
on
drifted
it.
Dean Martin from Biden impersonation there.
Hey, baby, I had a blonde just pounding on my hotel door room all night long. I wouldn't let her out.
Boy, have I got a headache.
He was great.
Mm-hmm.
He was,
allegedly, he actually was not an alcoholic.
No, he drank a lot of apple juice on stage. Now, after his son passed away, he started drinking for real. But a lot of that bit during the heyday, was not reality. I think I told the story once here, the one book I read. I don't remember which one because I've read quite a few.
You read a book? Congratulations.
Back when I had eyes. But I read a lot of the stuff about Sinatra and the Rat Pack and Dean Martin, and one of them was a big party at Dean's, and all of a sudden the cops show up at like midnight or whatever, and Sinatra's really pissed, and he's asking the cops who called them, which neighbor, or somebody complained. It turns out Dean did. He was already up getting ready for bed. He didn't want to break up the party himself, so he called the cops. Please come to my house and get Frank Sinatra and these other drunks out. That doesn't happen anymore. There's no fun stories coming out of celebrity. And I mean, granted, there were some questionable ones at that time too.
Yeah, I'm sure there were. Yeah.
So did you get a lot of business done on Friday? I mean, we weren't here Friday because you were doing business.
Out in business.
Oh, dude, because you are a professional, totally legitimate
3-hour lunch. A 3-hour lunch that I had to go to.
You had to go to. I mean, I bet you it was horrible.
Had to go. No choice.
Was there good food?
And it was about a 7-course lunch.
7 course. Most people have a sandwich, Gene. Maybe soup if they're lucky. Gene's like, I'll start with the foie gras, please, and then maybe give me a 1942 Bordeaux.
There was some of that, yeah.
Little drink. Wait, the best business happens when you're drinking.
Yeah, I don't drink though, so it's kind of strange, but yeah.
This is how you get the better deals. You're like, why don't you just keep drinking that?
I'm the one who's not drinking.
I'll adjust the numbers on this contract by an inch. You won't.
Oh, nice setup. That was good, man.
Won't notice anything. I'm still picturing Joey's with a blackboard, and his staff just moves the word economy around on the board. That's why Joe's like, it's only moved like an inch. I don't know.
It's the word economy. Yeah, it's not. I don't know.
No, I
Exactly.
don't know.
That's exactly right. I couldn't have said it better.
That explains it perfectly. You've crystallized my thoughts quite eloquently. Thank you for that.
That was a good time.
Well, that's good. We know you got to do business because now you're a totally legitimate businessman. You're a totally
He's unemployed
legitimate
right now.
businessman, right? Without a job. So
Exactly.
does the business card change for those time periods?
Oh, no. It's fully legitimate, even if I'm not working.
Have you finished the
Although
book? I know you were working on a book.
Oh, no. I have to work more, so I'm going to be flying off to Mexico again to work on the book.
Can you only write while in Mexico? Is this a
That's
contractual
the way
thing?
the contract works.
And who's paying for this? The Sir Gene business?
It's the Sir Gene Business Unit Division,
Yeah.
Incorporated LLC.
It is a huge conglomerate.
Conglomerate. Yeah.
You do not want to mess with these guys. You can
No. They can break your legs. Believe me.
They're like, Gene, it is time for you to go right. We have a ticket for Mexico here.
Well, they don't have a Polish accent, but yeah.
Oh, sorry. I thought they did. Your handlers aren't Polacks?
Not at all. No.
I can say that as being half Polish.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people do not realize that with the name O'Neill.
Well, O'Neill's a traditional Polish name. I mean, I don't see why people wouldn't think that.
I don't know. There's a guy, really looks like a fantastic hitter with the Pittsburgh Pirates now, whose first name is O'Neill, which is a new one to me.
That's his name? That's a black dude?
It's he's from one of these, like the Caribbean country somewhere, but maybe South America somewhere. But yeah, his name's O'Neill Cruz, but the first name O'Neill.
Oh, they must have really liked Tom Cruise and somebody else.
That was I don't think they changed their last name based upon watching Top Gun. I think there's a few.
Don't assume their last name. How dare you? How dare you, sir?
You never know. I guess people have picked weirder things for weirder reasons.
You know, in China, your last name is said first. So typically Americans think that Chinese people's first names are actually their last names.
Yes, and you're saying it wrong if you refer to them otherwise. And then there are big cultural differences.
Mm-hmm.
But that was one of the other questions.
Much like if you don't say sir in front of Gene, you're referring to it wrong.
No, that's absolutely right, depending on the context.
Mm-hmm.
But that was, of course, one of the questions. And I give the guy from CNN, 60 Minutes at CBS, give him some credit for asking the questions. But as usual, there's not much pushback.
Follow through.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He asked him about, well, are you going to, how would you respond with the whole China-Taiwan thing? And while Joe said nothing has changed with the policy,
Mm-hmm.
he said, unless there was an unprecedented attack from China to Taiwan on Taiwan. Now, I don't know. I'm guessing he meant unprovoked because I don't know what that would mean in that to say, well, unless there's an unprecedented attack from China onto Taiwan. Well, what does that mean? An unprecedented?
Like it's never been done before?
Yeah. And I mean, in war, I think everything's been done before. So I don't know. I mean, Joe doesn't know what words mean.
Mm-hmm.
But then he did double down when asked, well, would you send American troops to defend Taiwan? And Joe said yes.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's not what he was supposed to say.
No, the White House has been scrambling, I guess, since this came out.
Ooh,
And it's like, this is the kind of stuff that forget about politics. Forget about the fact that I think his family's a bunch of crooks. He just does not mentally know what he's saying anymore.
No, he doesn't know what a Taiwan is.
He's like, do I want to tie one on? Yeah. Yeah. Does anybody have, where's the bottle, man? Got some Glenlivets?
Yeah, that's not a good thing because this is how you end up in nuclear war.
Yes. When you say I'm going to go to war with China.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, Donald Trump took some folders out of the White House, but I mean, he was really horrible. Joe Biden's
I mean, folder stealing, that's worse than treason.
Yeah,
frankly.
this is true. Those are very expensive folders. I mean, you see what they pay for toilets in Washington.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably paid a lot for those folders.
I mean, that's almost as bad as walking through a sign that says "Do not enter" and staying on the red carpet between velvet ropes.
That is still one of the biggest scam. I mean, again, this is because the media reports and people just, not everybody, but a vast majority of people are just like, oh, yeah, that must be the reality.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was some violence that went on at the Capitol. I don't think anybody denies that. But looking at things as a whole, these are the same folks that went to a live shot. I forget which city they were in, if it was Minneapolis at the time of the George Floyd or one of the other ones with where there's literally burning buildings behind the guy. And it's like, hey, reporting from
mostly burning.
Yes.
Mostly burning.
This is just a mostly peaceful protest we're reporting on here. There's like a building burning right behind you. So these are the same people that have that view of reality, which is like, well, yeah, they're burning buildings down. But this is otherwise, this is, well, actually, part of that is just being partly peaceful. I mean, I guess you could say it's a mostly
it's a true
peaceful
statement.
Yeah.
And not every building is burning and not every person is carrying a torch. Only 49%.
You see, so we're right on the money here.
Mm-hmm.
We are right on the money. Illinois, a lot of people are going to be carrying torches now that the purge law is going in. And there is still time. And I know there's some confusion about that, but there are multiple attorneys, that work for the different counties here in Illinois that are already suing to get this new law that's supposed to go into effect on January 1st stopped. And everybody's calling it the purge law because it's basically commit any crime, we're not going to hold you on bail.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what people think
it's
that does.
AKA the Promotion of Gun Sales Act of Illinois 2022 law.
Yeah. Well,
that's what it's going to do.
Well, guns have been through the roof, and it's interesting because you don't see this on the liberal media. I've seen this in a few places, and the conservative media reporting that month after month, the FBI background checks and gun sales, mainly handgun sales, are well over 1 million a month in the United States and have been for like a couple of years now. It's like, that's a lot. That's millions and millions of guns new that have just hit the streets in the last couple of years. It's like, this is something where when you go and say, well, we need to ban all guns, it's like, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. Nobody can ever explain how they're going to take care of that. This is the same thing as the twit Kamala Harris offering her solution.
Are you calling her a twit?
Yes. Is that being too nice?
Well, I don't know. I think you might get sued by somebody out of California.
Am I giving twits a bad name by lumping her into that category? That's like, well, no, let's just make all these people legal citizens. That'll take care of the problem. And it's like, well, where are they fucking going to sleep? I mean, this is the problem, is there is no place for them to stay.
Yeah, I think it's been proven a good experiment to just ship them all to Martha's Vineyard, period, from now on until Martha's Vineyard gets its act together.
I agree. I mean, it shows the hypocrisy when the people there are like, well, they can't stay here. Well, why? Why do you think they should stay in Texas then?
They should stay in Texas, where they came from.
It's like, I just don't understand the overall hypocrisy and how these people that have that mindset still have not opened up their minds and went, oh, wow, wait, this is a problem. I get it now. Yeah. There's no place for these folks to go. And this whole, the Republicans are using them as pawns. It's like, well, the Democrats have been using them as pawns for the last 20 years.
20?
More?
60.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the hilarity here. It's like, oh, now it's coming to your backyard. And it's funny because we've talked about it, I'm sure. The fact that all these sanctuary cities, whether it's San Francisco or Chicago or New York, oh, yeah, you talk a really big game until there's a train load of migrants that are being shipped to you. And now you're like, I can't handle that.
Well, not certainly where those people are. I mean, they're not meant to be in nice places like that.
No, let's put them in Obama's house. They've got like a $14 million mansion in Martha's Vineyard.
Somebody compare them to trash?
Yes. And that was quickly removed. I forget which Democrat.
Well, that's what you do with trash, isn't it?
that that was the correlation they made, which was bringing migrants from Texas to wherever this was the same as me taking my trash and throwing it on my neighbor's yard or something. It's like, holy crap, did you just say that?
That's pretty wild, yeah.
Yeah, it shows the brain dead nature of a lot of the people on the left who just don't understand. It's like what you're pointing out is absolutely correct, which is the only answer is to get a solution to the problem so it doesn't happen in the first place. And the only way to do that is close the border, to not let people in unchecked. That's how you fix the problem. And that's what the Democrats specifically do not want to do. So this is why, and I just can't believe it took this long, really, for the lawmakers like DeSantis and Abbott to start going, hey, you know what would be a really good idea? Let's get buses and trains and planes and just move them to the cities that say they want them, that are Democrat, that you know.
Free one-way tickets.
Yes, because this would have backfired completely if any of these cities, and it's been an overall freak out in Washington, D.C., Chicago. I mean, D.C. wanted the National Guard. Martha's Vineyard wanted the National Guard. And
well, didn't Martha's end up putting them all in prison anyway?
I think they sent them to Cape Cod. They had to get rid of them.
Cape Cod.
Yeah. They're just moving them on down the line.
Yeah, but I mean, I think they moved them not just to, here's Cape Cod, you can walk around the little shops and don't hurt the gay people too much. But no, I think they moved them to a military facility.
What else do they have, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know the details. I'm not looking at the page, but it seemed like somebody mentioned that it was like a National Army base where they set up temporary restraining locations for them. They're basically in a zoo now. They're surrounded by metal cages. That's kind of the point that they all make fun of Texas for doing on the border. Now they get to do that in Massachusetts.
Because they realize there's no other solution, because there's no place to house these people.
Yeah. But the problem, as far as they're concerned, was with the shipment of these people, not them crossing the border.
Right. Because it's horrible for them to send the people to New York or Chicago or Washington, D.C. or Martha's Vineyard, where they're like, hey, we don't have room for them. Well, Texas doesn't have room for them either, assholes. That's the problem. Now, any of these cities.
And Texas didn't get 2 airplanes worth. Texas gets like a million of them.
Take what you've gotten here and multiply that by 1,000. And that's kind of what Texas is doing. But any of these cities could have backfired this. Made this backfire, I guess is a better way to say that, on Texas would have been, oh, yes, this is great. Thank you. We will take care of them. Not one of these sanctuary cities did that. Not one was like, oh, yes, we'll take this opportunity to show that we're going to put our money where our mouth is. We can handle the situation exactly the way we said we could. Every last one of them.
No, they're all indignant.
Yeah. That's hilarious to me. It's like, what are you indignant about? You said you were a sanctuary city. Anybody that wants to should come.
Well, but not Cape Cod. I mean, really, please.
Yes, we have to. We can't let the hoi polloi mess with the regular folks. No.
The whole point of having sanctuary cities is so that Cape Cod doesn't have to deal with stuff.
But the sanctuary cities don't even want to take them.
No, of course not.
It's like, because again, they're already running themselves into the ground with the programs that they have. I think it was Denver has a new program where they're spending like $2 million just giving homeless people UBI, universal basic income. And it's
I need to sign up for that.
Yeah, it's like, where do you think this is going? How do you think this is going to work? And do you think that the people you're giving the money to, when they're just already out on the street? I mean, when you look at the homeless problem, you realize that a vast majority of the people that are homeless have a mental illness or are drug addicts.
Right.
Which some will argue is a mental illness. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I don't know.
Mhm.
But they're in a state where giving them this money is not going to make their life better. It could very possibly make it worse or kill them because they're probably going to just go buy drugs. Putting that money into community housing would make more sense to me. To be like, well, we're going to have a facility where people can stay. This whole we're handing out cash to people, no, it just doesn't work. It does not work.
Well, how else are they supposed to buy their drugs?
Well, that's it. They shouldn't be buying drugs. Have places for them to stay. Have places that provide them with some meals. I mean, get some of these woke corporations on board. Provide your product if you want to, sell your Cheetos or whatever it is. You have, have it sponsored by companies that can help provide what you need. Have it sponsored by the MyPillow guy. Hey, come in. Every cot has a MyPillow pillow.
I don't think the MyPillow guy is horribly woke right now.
No, he's not. He's the opposite of being woke. But I'm just saying, if you need somebody to come in, I didn't really want to, mention any corporation that I didn't know whether they were woke or not and put them on board with that. But there's way better ideas than
Disney.
Oh my God. I am having so much fun watching the news about Disney. And I am a guy that was always a huge Disney fan until they went not so woke. We went there on our honeymoon.
1941.
Yeah, well, it wasn't horrible back in the
They were supporting
80s,
Ukraine back then already.
90s. I don't know. Were they supporting? Was Ukraine around in 1940?
Yeah. No, Disney was a Nazi.
Yeah, well, that's, at least they were doing it in a fun way.
Mm-hmm.
But watching the news now, where the people that are going there, and a lot of this stuff is coming from Disney blogs. It's amazing to me. I started following this. As I said, we used to go a couple of times, every few years we'd be going to Disney. So there is a huge industry around Disney. There have been websites and newsletters and all this devoted to Disney and what's coming new and what's going on. The amount of people who are saying that the park is in disarray, half the rides are broken down, and I'm not exaggerating saying half the rides are like we go into the park and like half the rides are broken down, and the rides that are still working, a lot of the stuff in the rides aren't working because, Disney does a lot with these little animatronic stuff. And while you might be going through the ride and, this character, only one eye is working and this one's kind of broken down and they're saying it's filthy, that the garbage isn't being picked up. That's one thing I'll say. I mean, I haven't been to Disney in like 10 plus years, but every time that I went to Disney World, it was like a magical place because with all the people that were around, I mean, yeah, every now and then you'd see some popcorn and stuff on the street, but overall, it was like one of the cleanest places you would ever be because they had a staff that was doing nothing but cleaning up.
No, whoa. Disney doesn't have a staff. They have performers.
They have cast members.
Yes, let's not get anybody into trouble.
And once you learned about the stuff like the garbage, empties itself into the street below. And this is why you don't see anybody, replacing garbage cans and stuff or emptying them in Disney. It's because it's all magic. And this whole system was put into place that allowed for this. But when COVID hit, especially, it seems they cut staff, they cut people that obviously do the stuff like maintaining and fixing the rides. Maybe they just
didn't have at least 4 booster shots, you can't work at Disney.
Well, you have to have at least 2 a week, I think. See, Brooklyn wants to know if this show is live. The show is rarely live, see, Brooklyn.
Yeah.
It's a Monday.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the show should be ever allowed to be live. I mean, I'm debating that answer.
You think it should always be Memorexed or just the show should just go away?
Well, I'm not sure because we produce this, it's a lot of work. We have to go in and create this sort of false idea that we're actually talking to each other. We actually have a script and we pre-record our parts ahead of time.
Do you know how hard
send
that
it
would
in
be?
to a production facility where they cut it up. And see, that was canned laughter, in case anybody's wondering, a little behind the scenes, guys.
Yeah, that's just like you can always hear the same guy laughing on the old laugh tracks.
That's right. Yeah, same thing here. But I think they do a damn good job. I mean, at $5,000 a week that we pay them, I think they're probably getting their money's worth.
Well, all really we would have to do is talk and read a script, and then they would just be able to AI the whole show. We would never actually have to talk to each other ever again. It would just sound like we were.
Well, that'll be the next step. I mean, I'd love for us to get to that point.
Well, can you imagine? That would be the best show ever.
I think it would be. I think it would be.
And how many people would be able to figure out that it was not organic, that it was all just, even not just the voices being AI, but the topics in the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That would be awesome.
I'm looking forward to the future.
I can't stand, and I look at YouTube videos mainly to put clips together for one of the other shows I do, which is also today, Planet Rage.
You have a clip show?
With Larry Blender. We bring clips to Planet Rage.
What do you have clips for?
Just to show what's going on in the world, and they're either rage inducing clips, or I pulled like 4 different Biden clips because they will induce rage when you hear what he's saying.
That's true. Yeah.
So, but for that reason, and pretty much that reason only, I look through YouTube videos, and I usually throw in a filter, like anything that says rage,
to lower the pitch
or
I
rant, right? And when I come across the videos that are AI computer generated audio over just random, I'm like, I cannot stand that.
There are so many of these Chinese sites now. This is becoming a serious problem with YouTube. Is that
it's
more
overrun.
and more of these recommended channels are really, and I say Chinese not because necessarily they're all Chinese. Some are Indian, some are African, but these are non-native English speaker production facilities that use text to speech, and usually with Google Translate. But they have a neutral American voice for the text to speech. And the way that you can tell, I mean, there's multiple ways to tell that's what they are, but they'll show clips that they've gotten from other videos and then have their own narration.
Yes, their commentary.
Talking over it, but there'll be grammatical errors and there won't really be anything horribly interesting. But then you look at how many subscribers they have. This tells you how stupid the population is. A lot of them have 1 million subscribers.
Yeah, which means they're making decent money.
They're making, for one of those daily video a day kind of sites, they're probably employing a couple of people in China at, $1 an hour. So not much for expenses, but they're making a couple $100,000 a year.
Which is way more than this show is.
And they're doing, a little bit more, but they're doing a lot of these channels, like on any topic you can think of. I watch a lot of space related stuff, and there's a new one of these types of channels popping up almost every other week.
Well, I think it's because that so many people just put YouTube on and set it to just play the next recommended video. So they leave it on as like background noise.
Yep, I do that sometimes.
And this is where they win that game because it's way easier to get.
And YouTube
inserted.
doesn't care. They don't care what they play as long as it's getting, anyone that's got at least 1,000 subscribers, that's kind of the minimum, is going to get at some point into the recommended by YouTube pile.
And we just need to be recommended. As I said, this episode, not one donation. I mean, so we're relying on Boostagrams.
Yes. Well, I'm glad people have listened to me and stopped donating. So good job. Good job, everybody. Good job.
Yay. We are the only podcast that says, whatever you do not donate to this podcast.
No, all my podcasts say that.
And people listen.
Every single one of them. And the audience is growing, believe it or not.
Until you come down and you're like, hey, I'm now on Spotify only.
Pull a Joe Rogan, you mean?
Right. Yeah, pull the Rogan.
Uh-huh.
Well, there are various ways to...
Yeah, just give me 5 more years, then I'll pull a Rogan.
To to monetize a podcast, and they are work, even shows like this one are work when it comes down to it. Because one, you're putting the time in to
You
do
got
the
to write
show.
the script.
There is, there is some post work. There is having to keep your website up and all that. I'm not saying it's a ton of work once you have the right equipment and know what you're doing, but there's work involved. And compared to with these YouTube videos we were just talking about, there's way more work involved. Especially, again, when you do a text to speech, it's like, well, okay, you're probably just clipping somebody else's words too. And
No, I think they're using the Google Translate because, like I said, a lot of times the grammar is not quite right.
so they're taking like a Chinese news source and then converting it to English.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever
Now,
works,
I worked.
guess.
I worked in the company that did that. Well, not quite that, but they had articles that were like, let's just say, articles about camping. That
What about prepping?
they were putting it. Let's just say camping for
Okay.
the time being, and they were putting those articles out. I don't know, maybe not every day, but a couple times a week or something. But there had to be a lot of writing happening, right, by somebody that understands camping. And of course, what's the cheapest place you can write those? Well, not China, but the Philippines, because people in the Philippines, they kind of have to camp because they don't make a whole lot of money. And so you get these, and in the Philippines, most people know English. So you get these articles sent in that are actually grammatically fine. They're in English. But then the topics, you're like, how to capture and cook the best size, what do you call those things?
Moose?
God damn it. I'm picturing it
Elk?
in my head. Goose or elk? No, I
Moose.
was, how about try scorpion?
Oh, a scorpion, sure.
Yes, how to capture and cook the best size scorpion. Now, this may be an interesting article, but it's not horribly useful for camping.
You don't have a lot of scorpions around when you're camping?
We do have a lot of scorpions. We have a ton of scorpions here. I don't know any Americans that are going to voluntarily eat one.
Well, if you were really hungry, you might.
Where in other countries, those are a delicacy.
Hey, and they will be here soon.
I mean, maybe an article about, I don't know, capturing and cooking a large size rabbit would be more useful.
Possibly, or how to get a signal
Not
to get
sure they have those in the Philippines, though.
to get your cell phone to get an Uber and bring you some food.
Yeah, right. Uh-huh.
That's more here. Like how to get Uber.
How to bring good camping food using Uber foods. Yeah.
Yeah, if you can find an Uber Eats guy that'll come out into the woods.
Oh, they'll come out.
Nothing
They'll
wrong
always come out.
Nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that.
You don't even have to tip them. It's great.
Right. They love it when you don't tip them.
Yeah, they tell you even that. Hey, thanks for the tip, man. Every time you don't tip somebody, you get a hey, thanks for the tip.
There's a
I've heard. I don't know this. I've heard this.
well, I've seen again, there's like people that are, and this seems to pop up more. I mean, it's always around, but it seems to be popping up a little bit more now that, Joey's ruined the economy. That people feel like tipping is optional so they don't have to tip. There was an article where there was like somebody sitting at a table. I think this was like in New York at whatever restaurant, like a big group came in and none of the servers at the restaurant, because they knew this person, none of them would take the table. And this of course brought a discussion on, again, to the fact that tipping is optional. People aren't required to tip. And it's like, but you kind of are, because it's a social contract. If you go out to a table service meal,
Right.
you are expected to tip the server. Now, I get the argument of, I just want to go out and eat. Why don't you just add this? But that's not the way our culture is here.
Mm-hmm.
There are some restaurants that do that, and some have been very successful with that.
Mm-hmm.
But for the restaurants that aren't, I just don't understand. This is kind of the same thing. Like, I don't understand the mentality of people who don't realize it's hypocrisy to not want the migrants in Martha's Vineyard. It's also hypocrisy for people who understand that servers rely on tips to then go in and be like, well, I don't have to tip you.
Right.
I think that's okay because it's optional.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, I mean, I understand the argument that it should just be added into the bill, but it's not. And you know it's not. So you know the right thing to do. And I'm not saying you have to tip 20, 25, 30%, but there's a social contract there. And there's a lot of social contracts that gets going by the wayside because people just aren't polite to each other anymore either. But it's like tipping is part of how those folks make money if they're in the service industry and with the drivers.
And it is, I think it's the wrong approach, honestly, because what we should have is more of a system that some European countries have, and I think some Asian countries too, where there is no tip. You know, the standard is if everything's okay, you don't need to worry about tipping. And if something is outstanding and above and beyond, then you're welcome to tip.
Right.
So the tip is not part of the wage.
It is truly
assumption.
optional.
It is truly optional. Now, the way that I think Uber and a few other food delivery companies do it is they guarantee a minimum amount of money per hour or per delivery or however they break it down to people. But, and here's the big but that I think a lot of people signing up as drivers don't realize because they don't read the damn contract, is that is a guaranteed number that includes tips. And if the tips are lower than that, then Uber will pitch in and make up the difference so you still get the minimum guaranteed. But if people are tipping at, say, I don't know, what's an average tip amount?
Hey, if you're
10%?
making good tips, it's like 20%.
Yeah, let's say 10. But if it's everybody tips at 10, then Uber doesn't have to pitch in at all. But your amount hasn't changed. So whether you get tips or whether you don't get tips, you're making the same amount of money until you get to a certain threshold. Because if you're not getting tips, you're still going to get essentially a tip from Uber themselves.
Right.
But I think that system doesn't really encourage people to, like, it creates a big step instead of a gradual ascent. Is you have to get to a point where everybody's tipping over 10% to be able to make more than the minimum, or you could just be really shitty and not care how well of a job you do, and then you're still making the same amount of money.
Right. Well, if you're a customer, you have to understand the ratings go both ways. So if you're a customer who does not tip, that goes into these systems. This goes into the app. So the next time you order food and it takes 3 hours for somebody to pick up your order, you'll know why.
3? I mean, it's always 3. What are you talking about?
It's okay, so you don't tip. I get it.
Well, no, I didn't say I didn't tip. I'm just saying it's usually 3 hours. Wait, they're just busy. They're busy all the time.
Yeah, they're so busy. But it's the same concept, what you're describing, as working on commission, which I did last when I worked for Circuit City, where service was state of the art. And at Circuit City, it was a 2-week pay period, and there was the minimum that you could make per hour. And there were times where business sucked. I mean, we all know you weren't making that in November and December because there was so much going on and there were so many sales coming in. But in the slower time, because it was a 2-week pay period, you quite often knew after 3 to 5 days into that 14-day pay period that you were never going to climb your way out. So there was no incentive to do any work whatsoever. We would avoid customers at that time because it was like, I'm getting paid the same no matter what. That's when the employees would go hide, because it was like, no.
Right.
It was a horrible system because it wasn't, as you said, if you were getting paid X amount per hour and then any commission you made above and beyond that, then people are incentivized to work their ass off and go for every sale. The minute you're like, hey, you have to make X amount in order to start making commission, for those pay periods that were off, people just didn't care. And your store suffered because employees did not want to wait on customers because they knew it wasn't going to make them any money.
Yep.
So that's what some of the stuff they still haven't figured out about human nature. But the people that gladly go onto YouTube and be like, I'm not tipping, it's optional, I don't want to tip, and if people have a problem with that, they can kiss my ass. It's like, you know they're going to spit in your food. I mean, you know you're going to get worse than that. And you know that you're just a horrible person if you intentionally go out, even thinking I could get the greatest service I've ever gotten as a restaurant, but I don't believe in tipping, so I'm not going to tip. Then don't go out to eat.
No, you can go out to eat in Austin because Austin has a bunch of restaurants that are very gung-ho about proclaiming that they have a fair age and tips are not required at all.
Well, see, those
and
are
the food
okay.
prices are usually double.
Right. Now, if you'd rather do that, that's fine. And I think this is something to do with the whole millennial concept.
But they always spit on your food no matter what.
Right. So that's fair. It's equity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that's the other thing people don't realize. Yeah, okay. You want the tipping to be included. Well, here's the thing. Then the restaurant's going to add in, if you're giving them the ability to do that, then they're going to add in, 20 or 30% more to cover everything because the restaurant's going to want their cut. And it takes it out of your hands as the consumer then.
Right. So basically then you get shitty service. And since there's no tip, there's no way to train them that, hey, you had shitty service, therefore you didn't get a tip. No, they had shitty service and they still got a tip.
Which also then does not.
The restaurant enforces.
It's the same thing then, as I was just talking about, which is now your server does not care whether you're happy or not. They're getting paid the same amount of money.
Yeah, it's called socialism.
And how does socialism usually work out, Gene?
Pretty well.
For who?
For the people in charge, just like everything else. No, it's a scary road we're going down, and then I think my other co-host says it well. Is that right now the U.S. and Russia are ships passing in the night in opposite directions?
That seems about fair for what's going on politically.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes down to personal freedoms and business freedoms.
Yeah, like getting on the gold standard, having a good climate for a small business, having lower taxes overall. Oh, no, that's not the U.S. No, that's Russia. Having a country with a predominantly Christian population. Yep, that's still Russia.
They're sounding better and better.
A country that has actual laws against pedophilia and getting kids pulled into adult sexual content. A country that has a...
Wait,
I mean, there's still some negatives here.
I need to know one thing.
How do you get there?
How many 10-year-old children in Russia have transitioned to the other sex? I want to know that.
I did too. I don't have the figures on that, but my suspicion is probably zero because a doctor doing that wouldn't get past even just talking about doing it. Because I think it's actually a crime for him to have discussed this with a child. Now, are there people getting the trans operations that are adults? Yes. That is not banned in Russia, contrary to popular belief.
So really, it probably comes down to, about Russia anyway, people here in the United States, the only thing they really don't like is Putin. So if we had a new leader in Russia, is Russia now like the greatest country that everybody should go move to if it was not for the leader? Or does it fall apart?
Unlike the United
Putin?
States, Russia does not have an open border.
Well, see, that's smart because they don't have places to put everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Nobody should have an open border.
Now, they did for a while. I will say that, after the breakup of the Soviet Union, it was very easy to get into Russia, to get out of Russia, to, do whatever you wanted to do in Russia. It was the kind of climate that allowed oligarchs to flourish.
And they did.
Yeah, and oligarchs, if people still don't know what that term means, that means people like Bill Gates.
Rich
people
Russian guys.
that had made money in some type of quasi-legitimate monopoly, Microsoft, and then leverage that money to get themselves involved in more political and, even if they're not in office, they're doing things as essentially NGOs.
Yeah, they're pulling the strings.
They're pulling the strings, exactly. Which, incidentally, one of those oligarchs wasn't happy with some deals that he was getting from Russia. He happened to have been a Ukrainian guy, and he got so pissed off that he decided to change the government in Ukraine. And he did. He successfully did. He figured out a way to do it by courting the U.S., providing direct funding, and staging a coup, a takeover in Ukraine.
And billions in funding.
I don't think, the Ukraine got billions in funding. He didn't have to provide billions in funding. He was a...
Oh, no. Are they coming for you? Is that the...
Yeah, I think so.
Your overlords are sending messages?
Stop. It's the Alexa. Yeah, the overlords at Amazon are starting to send messages.
Well, that was the other thing that Biden was asked about, the support
Alexa?
for Ukraine. Yes.
Oh,
the support for Ukraine and really what the limit was for how much the United States was going to dive into this.
No limit.
Right. Exactly what he said.
We're going to keep sending money until Russia is no longer.
This should scare everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Uncle Joe doesn't know what he's doing.
He's never known what he's doing. He's insane. He has no brain.
This may be true. That may have been removed for medical reasons.
Yep.
He's got just a little Alexa in his head.
A little bit. Yeah.
Kind of makes sense. But don't go out to dinner if you're planning on not tipping. That's all I'm saying.
Well,
buy your own damn food and cook your own damn food then.
Yeah, you realize that if you say that, it's going to bankrupt the restaurant business, right?
Well, that's what they want anyway.
Yeah.
It's already getting there. It is already getting there because of the fact that the price on everything. I was reading an article the other day about an Italian restaurant here in the suburbs.
Yeah.
They've been around for 60 years. I think they have like 3 restaurants in the area.
Wow.
And they're like, we don't know if we're going to make it through this one. The cost of everything has gone up so much, which of course means the cost of food goes up. My wife and I went out the other day after I was seeing the retina guy, so I kept my eyes nice and dilated.
That's fun.
I know. It ruins the rest of the day. It really does. You can't read a damn thing.
Yeah, you should do those in the late afternoon.
And then just go to bed.
Yeah.
But we each had a sandwich, and it came with soup and fries. But it was, I think, $35 for 2 sandwiches, fries, and 2 iced teas. Well, for you, maybe that's cheap.
In Austin, that buys you an iced tea.
This is that's probably true. But I mean, this is this is a place that's on, I won't say on par with the Denny's, but it's a slightly better version, only open for breakfast and lunch. A little better quality food than Denny's, but it's just a regular little diner kind of a place. So it's like 2 sandwiches, $35. It's like that's not long ago that would have been like $20.
Yeah, that's true. I just ordered some vitamin D.
Gotta have your vitamin D3, man.
Yeah, I like my vitamin D. That's good stuff. And the price per bottle at Walgreens is $25 now.
No, for vitamin D?
For a 60 capsule vitamin D supply.
Holy cow.
So I think last time I bought it, it was about half that price. But I actually checked, so that was Walgreens. I also checked, what the hell's the other one called? But anyway, I checked another drugstore just because I was thinking, no, this has to be a mistake. That's crazy.
Yes.
Within the buck, same kind of pricing. So, yeah, there's that, because we don't have inflation, or there's only an inch of it. Our prices on supplements have doubled now.
Now we get I think these are the ones we've gotten. Nature Made, the 5,000 IUD3, 180 for $14.
Yeah, so I got Nature Made 10,000.
10,000, holy crap.
60 capsules, $23.
See, do your shopping on Amazon.
Well, but the thing about buying stuff like that on Amazon is it's coming directly from China, where they print the label.
Depending on which brand you're
nothing to do with the brand.
Oh, come on.
Oh, dude, it's all fake. I'm telling you right now. It's all fake products at Amazon.
Everything's fake? It's not real?
It's not real. If you I will challenge you to buy Nature Made from Amazon and then call Nature Made and complain about something, and they will tell you, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir, that's actually a fake product. That's not ours. We only sell in retail stores."
Well, Amazon is a retail store, but I know there are.
I'm just telling you what they're going to tell you. That's all.
The third party. I'll have to look at now. Will the barcodes
you can get a bottle that has? Oh, sure, of course. They take a photo, dude. They take a photo of a bottle.
What if I take the product out and look at the product next to the other? Will that you're saying that will be different?
You don't have to. You don't have to open the damn thing. You can leave it closed and refund it. But if you call up Nature Made and you say, "I've got a problem with this bottle that I bought on Amazon," they will tell you that they only sell retail, and that is contra. What's the word? Not contraband. It's counterfeit. It's a fake bottle. Counterfeit. Yes. That's the one. Counterfeit. Yeah. So, but go ahead, buy it on Amazon if you prefer.
We're all gonna die.
Yeah. There's you have to see, Amazon has no liability for selling fake stuff because they can always take it back.
Well, that is true. Right? Which is I still don't understand the reasoning why Amazon lets people. I mean, I get it; they make money. Where whatever they're selling. So if they're selling a book or whatever, and you're like, "Hey, I have that same SKU. I want to sell it for cheaper." They'll let you do that through them, which just seems very strange. It's a very flea market-esque kind of thing, which is why I avoid.
Well, that literally was the piece that took them from $1 billion company to $1 trillion company.
It makes sense.
It was opening it up to anybody at any time, saying, "Oh, I have that. I'll sell it."
Which is why I always look and make sure it's being shipped and sold from Amazon. Because even if it's like, oh, it's shipped from Amazon, but it's being sourced somewhere else, then yes, I start worrying about not just with vitamins and stuff like that, with anything, with the legitimacy. Because there's a lot of stuff. I was buying a couple of things from my dad who collects all the baseball cards and stuff like that. And of course, they jump on the listing of the company that makes, the really good holders for the baseballs or the cards, with UV protection and all that kind of stuff. And they jump on that and say that's what they're selling. But then what you get is some weird generic thing that is not the same.
Right.
And it's like, I don't understand. Amazon has no control over what people are selling when they jump onto those listings. Because they're like, oh, yeah, we're selling nice UV bulb. Oh, that's great. And then you get it and it's not. And as you said, Amazon just goes, okay, we'll return it.
Yeah, I mean, they don't care. If they accept the return, they don't even ship it back to the seller.
Nope.
They just charge the seller the full refund amount.
And then they put it on a pallet.
And then they put it into a pallet with a box that's a surprise box. $800 contains over $2,000 worth of products.
I've considered that. I've considered that just for content and just to see.
They are extremely accurate with their pricing on those things. I've watched a number of videos of people buying those. And when you sort through all that stuff, the retail price could be double. But if you wanted to actually see how much can I actually get each of these things for, what you end up is a total price that's very similar to what you just paid to Amazon. You got to remember, they have all the barcodes. They know what everything's worth. They know what the retail price, and they know what the discount price, and they know what the wholesale price and everything is. So why would they mark their boxes with any major loss?
Well, because
it's
don't
a concept.
know. Right. Well, the thing with the returns is you have to assume that a certain percentage of those are actually defective, non-working things. So if somebody returns a laptop, Amazon has no idea. You could buy a $5,000 laptop, and maybe if the price gets to a certain amount, maybe it's treated differently. But for most items, you return it. They do not care if it's working or not. They're just going to throw it on the pallet to resell it. And it's quite possible that half the stuff on the pallet you buy is not even going to be in working order.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they just want to get some kind of money out of this.
So in watching the videos, every single thing was in working order. The biggest difference were some items had blemishes, meaning somebody opened up a box with a knife and the knife actually cut through the packaging and put a gouge into the product.
And they're like, yeah, we don't want that.
And it's like, oh, that was damaged in shipping. Yeah, we'll have to return that.
Uh-huh. Well, Amazon has not always been good with packing stuff well.
No, they just chuck it in the box. That's all they do. Their packaging is basically a cardboard box.
I don't ever tell you the
lucky,
story.
There's a little bit of airbags in there.
Oh, yeah. If you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
We went through a run, and it was on sale. This was a great price. They were selling lithographs. Okay, so they were just really more, let's just say, a nicer poster.
Mm-hmm.
That Steiner Sports was liquidating, I guess. So Amazon had X amount of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a lithograph signed by a bunch of guys who had thrown perfect games. So I think there was like 5 or 6 autographs on the lithograph.
Mm-hmm.
And they were selling them cheap. And I'm like, this is a great bargain. So I ordered 1 or 2 of them. And this was literally like a poster, not in a tube, just thrown in a box.
Yep.
So it got crinkled and destroyed. So I'm like, no. They sent me 2 more, crinkled and destroyed. No. Can you ship these correctly? Oh, yeah, we'll take care of it this time. 2 more, crinkled and destroyed.
Oh, my God.
I'm just like, this is horrible. We never did get one that was legit to where we kept it.
Ever? Really? Wow.
I think we went through 8 of them that
holy cow,
just constantly sending and constantly destroying. It's like, how do you not know that you can't just throw a large piece of paper, more or less, into a box? I mean, the one of them, the UPS, because this is a box that was huge. I forget how large the lithograph was, but it was in a huge box that got dented because of the fact that it was a massive box that weighed nothing, because it was basically a box with a piece of paper inside. But of course, the box getting smashed, of course, then the paper got smashed.
Yeah.
So it's like, come on, I mean, put it in a tube. Is that so hard to figure out? Do you not have tubes?
Yeah, that's nuts, man.
With all of the money that they spent to ship, well, my favorite, probably still with Amazon, was we ordered a black Kohler sink for our bathroom when we moved in here. And it was Amazon, of course. So you get free shipping.
Yeah.
They sent white instead. So they came on their dime. Of course, had to send UPS to pick that one back up and sent another one. And I'm just thinking 2 extra shippings for something that weighed a lot.
Yeah.
Like what that had to cost them to make that mistake.
They didn't make you take that back to Kohl's?
No, I don't think Kohl's was doing it at the time. And it's like,
oh, okay.
One, that's way too damn expensive to try, or heavy to try to deal with.
Yeah, I got a, what was it? It was a bed frame that way. But they just didn't make me ship it back. They just let me keep it.
Like we don't see, that's better.
Yeah.
And this is something, did we talk about that? Because there was an article a few months back that a lot of these retailers are moving to that concept, which is just when people say they want to return something, to just be like, okay, we'll refund you, but keep it. And I'm like, how does that not go horribly wrong?
Yeah.
Because who's not going to do that then? Because here's the scam.
I know, right?
When it comes to, Amazon or any of these online retailers, if you get an item and you're like, oh, well, maybe I can try to get this free. If you contact them and say, I want to return this. Well, if they say return it to them, well, then you just don't, because the return doesn't process until they get it.
Yeah.
But everything you get, I would be like, yeah, I want to return this. And for the stuff they tell you just to keep for free, you're like, hey, I win.
Yeah, that's true. I think at some point they would just cut you off.
Well, they would have to. And that would be the only way to take care of that would be on an address or customer basis to be like, hey, if you've done this more than X amount of times, then we won't offer this to you again. But for things that are cheap, I get it. Like, we ordered a vinyl record for Christmas last year for my dad, and we ordered an Elvis Presley album. The album that came in was not Elvis Presley. And it was an artist I'd never heard of. And it's just like, well, it's probably going to cost you more to have it shipped back to you than it's really worth. But they took it back. In a case like that, I can see where they might just be like, yeah, just keep that and we'll send another. Because the return process has to be a pain in the ass. And like you said, I don't know what they have to do to prove they took a return in order for them. So, okay, we got a return on this album. Well, do they send that back? Does that end up on a pallet? If it ends up on a pallet, how does the manufacturer that was selling this know that they got a return? When I was working at a bookstore way back when in the 80s, I'm guessing maybe they still do it this way with the paperback books. When the books didn't sell and they were being taken out of inventory, the books did not go back.
Back page or back cover or something?
Yeah, the front cover was all they had to return for the credit.
Yep.
Which means I had like boxes of books that just didn't have a front cover, and they were all just free because they were going. I mean, the people working there didn't care, but legally those were supposed to be thrown in the garbage.
Yeah.
But no, you can still read them. I mean, you can still read a book without a cover, believe it or not. But it's like that was the intriguing thing there for how they got their money back on that. So with the Amazon thing, I can understand, like, okay, we don't really need the product back. We're just going to trust you to a certain point. But I can't even imagine what kind of a pain in the ass it would be to process returns at that quantity. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be a pain in the ass. And depending on the price of the product, I mean, certain things obviously you want to have returned. But
like anything written by Gene Nevtuliev, I mean, then you want to get those back.
Well, I don't want to get them back, but somebody probably does. Yeah, it's an interesting issue. I mean, I love the fact that like this topic is so far away from any other topic we could possibly be discussing, and we're spending most of the show on this.
Which is why it's fun. This is why
funny.
People listen to Unrelenting. You never know what you're going to get.
I've said it before. I'll say it again. We are the Seinfeld of podcast.
But less entertaining.
Well, I don't know about that. I think we're pretty entertaining.
Could be more entertaining.
I think now, I guess the question is, which of the Seinfeld characters are we?
Oh, which Seinfeld character? Well, I mean, obviously you're Kramer, right? I mean, that's
Kramer. I'm not Kramer. Okay. Are you nuts?
I mean, to be fair, you're more like Newman, I think.
Newman.
Yeah, the mailman.
Okay, twice you're wrong now. Okay.
Newman.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Hardly the mailman.
Newman was, physically a little shorter. I mean, he didn't have the beard.
Oh, for fuck's sake. I'm obviously George, for Christ's sake.
But see, George, I don't know. George was a scammer overall. I mean, maybe you are, I guess. That's possible. But I mean, Newman just seemed like he was always trying to cause trouble and poke the bear.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of thought that would be more than George, but maybe you're right.
Yeah.
Maybe you're just kind of lucky.
Kramer. You're one of those 7 foot tall guys,
right? Well, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
You're more like George in the fact that you just kind of accidentally get jobs with really big corporations and have no idea how you got there.
You just gotta fake it till you make it. That's all.
Him getting the job with the Yankees was great when he was just being totally the anti-George, and when he met the George Steinbrenner the first time and just yells at him and tells him why the team sucks. He's like, hire this guy. Like, yes, that's okay. I guess maybe I can see a little bit of that. I mean, that's a little bit of the gene in that, I guess.
A little bit. But what else is going on? So I didn't know about this latest thing. What else have I missed during this week?
What other latest thing? The Queen died. Joe Biden had an interview. Yeah, the Queen died.
I don't believe it.
They're having a funeral today.
Retired. I think she's retired. Is it an open casket?
I don't think it was.
Uh-huh. There you go.
Some people thought she died like 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah, well, that's wrong.
We heard that with Gorbachev, too.
I think she's just finally decided to retire, go off to Bermuda.
I thought she was going back to her home planet.
Enjoy, that is Bermuda. That's what it's called.
Is that code, or is this actually?
No, why do you think the island is named for the planet?
Wow, I didn't know that. Is there like a intergalactical transport that happens from there?
Did you not see Men in Black at all?
I think I saw the first one.
Okay. All right.
I'm not big into movies. I watch a lot of TV.
You don't enjoy watching lights moving around that are very grainy and out of focus?
Exactly. I did watch, like I said, the Tom Cruise Top Gun Maverick. I thought that was a fairly decently done.
A few people
movie.
have told me that, and like 6 months later, it's still $20 to watch it. I'm like, fuck that shit. I'm going to wait till it's free.
Oh, I thought it was free.
No, they're still charging money. It's still on pay-per-view.
Really interesting. I thought it was free.
Yeah, it hasn't been picked up by HBO or somebody else big. As soon as it is, I'll watch it.
I must have seen it somewhere that was non-legit.
Pirated is
Probably,
my guess, but yes. Mm-hmm.
It's on my NAS, so I mean, it's there. If you want to pay, I can hook you up with. You can stream it right there.
Uh-huh.
This is my exit strategy. I'm just going to start a new an audio service just for you.
Just for me, right?
Streaming it live.
You're not going to make a whole lot of money, I'll tell you that.
I know. I was pissed because the other thing that happened Thursday when I went to the retinal doctor and then got back, I wanted to watch the truck race that was on that night, the NASCAR Craftsman truck.
Yeah.
And our freaking Comcast went down for like 5 hours. That's when you're like, oh, what you want to do a show? You call like, hey, you can't do it on tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I was like, the fucking internet's gone, man. This is the first time in a long time it was out for hours for no apparent reason. And the most annoying thing was it went out at like 3 or 4, which is why you have to have your own NAS full of stuff to watch. Because otherwise they're like, well, you can't do streaming when you don't have an internet connection. But their whole thing was like, oh, yeah, this will be fixed in like 2 hours. Then in like 2 hours, it came back at like, we're on the gigabit speeds and the speed test was getting like 20 megabits. I mean, it was nothing.
Ooh, yeah, that's not good.
And then it disappeared again. And it was like, oh, everything is fine. And I'm like, bullshit, everything is fine. And then it went back to, oh, there's an outage in your area. It could be 3 hours. And it's like, it's just...
So they fixed it eventually. Everything's back to normal speeds?
Yes, it seems like everything's back and we haven't had any drops or anything. So, hey.
Well, that's good.
That's a plus. Overall, I can't complain too much because, as I said, it's been a long time since we've had an extended outage.
Mm-hmm.
But, they sell you that you're always going to just get your Comcastic experience. But it was just Murphy's Law because I normally never watch anything live. Yeah. And there's normally not a race on a Thursday night. It's usually Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So this was an oddity. And then, of course, it was out. But it was okay because Fox Sports still let you. I think the race started at 8. It was back on here at 9.
Didn't you just download it off one of your little downloader websites?
Yeah, that would be around afterwards. But Fox, as long as it was still on the Fox Sports on the Roku, let me start it an hour into it. So they don't let you skip commercials, which is a pain in the ass.
Oh, on the Roku? Really? You can't skip commercials? That's crazy.
Depending on the app. And like with the Fox Sports one, if you start it late, they'll show you the whole program. So if you start a live event a half hour in, you can still watch it, the whole thing from the beginning, but you can't like skip the commercials to catch up.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess they're making money off those or something, huh?
They are. Oh, hey, thanks for the live boost, C. Brooklyn. 66 sats. That is the only only money this show has brought in today from C. Brooklyn. He is the lone executive producer right now.
So if they send money via Sats, you make that for that show instead of the next show? Is that how you do it?
Yes, if it's during the show and we see it and recognize it during the show.
I see.
I mean, if we're going to like, hey, we're done, and then a Sat's coming in and we don't talk about it, then I'll just probably forget about it, to be honest. Because it all just scrolls on by, It all just scrolls on by. I mean, this show does not get as many Sats as Adam Curry's Podcasting 2.0 or Curry and the Keeper. When you listen to Podcasting 2.0, it's always like pew, 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 pew. And it's like Sats are coming in at all times.
They are. Oh, that's true. Well, that's called value for value.
Yes, which means you're getting a lot more value listening to Adam Curry than you are to us. And don't forget Dave Jones.
He's definitely getting a lot more value doing the show than we are.
Yeah. Yeah. His value level is a little bit higher. And this is the constant, and I know we've talked about it a lot here, but this is still the constant thing that gets argued with podcasters or anybody really that wants to monetize their content, which is Adam Curry. His statistics say when you do value for value, you will never get more than about 4% of the people to take part.
Right.
Which I think is pretty accurate. I
think it's not just his number. I mean, even outside of value for value.
Well, I'm just saying he studies this and he would know, there's a conglomerate of, people that look at this stuff.
I don't know if I would say he studies this stuff, but
he's just guessing.
He has an idea of it.
Well, he bases his.
I don't think he's guessing, but he's. Well, yeah, he is living on it, but he's. I mean, it's not like he's the one that's doing the accounting for that business.
True, there are folks.
There are people,
but when you
people will figure that stuff out,
like 4% that will take part when you say, "Hey, what is this worth to you?"
Yeah. Which, by the way, did I hear correctly? Maybe 3 episodes ago that he said that their show had about 4.5 million listeners.
I don't remember hearing that number. I thought it was always.
What number did you say? Did you hear?
The last one I remember hearing was a little, I thought, in the million range for downloads, listeners.
No, it's definitely more than that. But I think, I want to say like 4, maybe 5 episodes ago, I was kind of surprised because usually he doesn't like talking about numbers. But he says, yeah. And I mean, he was not talking about the number of listeners. He was talking about something. But then he made a reference to the fact, and with this show at about 4.5 million, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, that's weird. He actually said how many listeners they have. He usually doesn't like to do that.
That could be a week downloads. Listeners, as we know, listeners are very hard to quantify because you don't know if the person that has downloaded an episode has listened.
Yeah, I think he's probably referring to the average number of downloads a month.
But because of the fact that only 4% of the people, when you're on value for value, take part, this is a reason why a lot of people put stuff behind paywalls and have been fairly successful. I know.
Oh, totally.
There's that there's a lot of arguments about that, but I think when people know they're getting more, when they're getting a product that they otherwise wouldn't.
Yeah, totally.
They're willing to pay more. They're willing to put something in.
I've probably paid now hundreds of dollars to Timcast.
Exactly.
And I only watch maybe 1 episode a month. And
if he was value for value, would you have paid as much or more?
Hell no. Of course not. No, because I've done that too. I've done the boostergrams on YouTube. The whatever their equivalent is. The stickers or messages or whatever.
So I think the bottom line is both are very valid, but I believe the value for value to make a full-time living, a good living out of it, you have to be in the top 1% probably of listened to shows as far as what your
here's the real
size
question.
Is.
And here's the real question that we'll never get an answer to. Compared to how much money No Agenda is making right now, would they make more if they did a 3rd episode that was behind a paywall?
Right.
A week. And we'll never find out because I don't think either one of them wants to do a third episode.
It's a lot of work
from a time commitment standpoint. 2, Adam is just opposed to paywalls as a principle.
Well, and I get that because he's at the level.
John would probably be more likely to do it because he likes getting paid.
Yeah, we'll be like, there's more money coming in. You're incentivizing people to.
Yeah. But this is the same way that Ben and Tim do theirs, is that they do a show that's free to everybody on YouTube. And then immediately after, they do another show behind the paywall. And so for the people that join I don't remember, I think Tim's is $10 a month. And I'm trying to remember how much Ben's is. I think it's probably $10 or $15 a month as well. I don't pay for that one. It's just not as interesting content, in my opinion. But the idea is the same. It's like, look, everybody gets my show for free. But if you really like what I'm doing here and you want to get more, it'll cost you $10 or $15 a month.
And to me, that makes sense.
Yeah, and the way I look at it is it like at that $10 price point, it's not going to break the bank. It's doable. It's not a major cost to me. And even if I only once a month catch the second show, like I probably watch 80%. Contrary to some belief, I don't watch 100% of Tim Pool's stuff, but I probably watch like 80% of his stuff. But of that 80%, occasionally there'll be a really interesting guest on, or somebody that I just want to, or maybe even it's not even about the guest. Maybe just the topics in the conversation are getting very interesting. And in those situations, I know I can go to the members website, log in, and then be able to listen to the second half, the behind the paywall portion.
Ooh.
Which also then, since it's not on YouTube, they can have a lot more conspiracy theory conversations that YouTube will block you for. They can have swearing. They don't have to be kids friendly. So that's where you typically have the most heated yelling and, kind of
the best
high temper debates, the best content. Yeah. But you certainly don't have it on every episode. And I sure as hell don't have time to watch, 80% of the behind the paywall stuff. I mostly do it because that's the thing that allows Tim to keep growing the business. And it's been super successful. So right now, or I should say probably as of a month ago, he'd mentioned that they're generating more revenue off of the membership site than they are off YouTube.
See, that's very interesting.
And he does a daily show on YouTube that generates, hundreds of thousands of dollars per episode.
Well, yeah, because the ad money is good.
Yeah, the ad money is good, but the direct $10 a month donations are even better now. And that makes sense because he sure as hell isn't getting $10 per YouTube viewer from YouTube.
No, there's absolutely no way that's the case.
No way. Yeah.
So
getting pennies.
They both fit. They both fit a model. If you have a large enough audience and if you have a generous enough audience where No Agenda does, the amount of times we've heard somebody coming in with $1,000 or more for one show at one time, that I understand blows away. Oh, just give me $10 a month. But the average person does not have. I mean, I've yet to, and I've done a lot of podcasts. I've done hundreds of podcast episodes. Never once did somebody come in with a donation of over $1,000 for one episode.
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting. If somebody wants to prove me wrong, I'd love to be proven wrong. Yeah, but when that's not happening, then
we're just doing the wrong content. There's a YouTuber that I watched that is I guess I would describe him as a transvestite for money.
Well, everybody does something for money.
So he's not.
He looks like the guy from the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
He doesn't want to be a girl. No, he looks totally like a chick. That's the way. That's what makes it successful. Is he's not gay. He's not transsexual, but he does dress in women's clothing, and he has a very feminine look to him. but he has a very masculine voice. And he's into masculine stuff like guns and knives and things like that.
That's hilarious.
Just looks like a chick, dresses like a chick, acts like a guy.
Talks about guy
like
stuff.
a guy.
So it's the whole opposite of
so it's just so that's why I was careful to find the correct word, which is transvestite. And he recently had somebody offer him $300,000.
Whoa! To do what?
To do a boob implant. And he was very tempted. He's like, the operation would cost significantly less than that. So it's probably about $60,000.
Wow.
And that's a lot of money for him as incentive to do it. But he kind of chickened out.
It could be like the transgender teacher in Canada with the big boobs.
Oh, no. This, unlike the Canadian big boob, I still can't believe that's real. That's got to be somebody that just wants to fuck with the system.
Yeah, that's what No Agenda said yesterday. I'm not sure. I cannot imagine somebody that genuinely wants to be a woman wanting to walk around with, like literally these are bigger than watermelon size fake tits. Yeah, well, this is the society we live in, though, where mental illness is applauded.
But I'm not buying it. It's an inconvenience. It's an inconvenience. It's one thing to wear women's clothing and then, pad those clothing so the boobs look like boobs. It's another thing to become a cartoon character.
Yo, I agree.
And he was not at all looking like he had the proper, what's the word? Like he wasn't.
It didn't look natural.
No, it looked like they were literally balloons, like regular balloons blown up and put into a clown outfit, because they were not impacting his stance at all. Like if you have two watermelons that are strapped to you,
you've tried
like the weight of actual tits or fake tits, then he should be leaning back a lot more to counterbalance their weight. And he wasn't. He was just standing around like a normal dude.
Like a normal dude with really big boobs.
A normal dude with blow up air balloons stuffed into a clown sized bra.
Yeah, you can't question what people are doing, though.
I can. And I do.
That's hateful. Why are you so...
I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that, but It just seems silly.
Well, it is. A lot of this stuff is silly, though.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of this stuff is silly. That's right. One of the other things Biden said yesterday was that the pandemic is over.
What?
Yeah, Joe Biden said the pandemic was over.
How dare he say that? There's still people in California that are waiting for their next shot.
Well, there are plenty. And it's kind of another interesting thing, because as somebody that has believed the pandemic was over for a while,
mm-hmm.
I wonder how many people on the radical right, because there are those, the same as there are on the radical left, when Joe Biden says the pandemic is over, can they agree with that and go, well, finally, Joe, thanks? Or are they like,
no, they're going to hold it against them.
They'll be like, what do you mean the pandemic is over? Wait, no, it can't be.
No, well, let's see what Fauci has to say, because I don't trust this Biden character.
Yeah, we have to get a second opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's only one man that is science, and it's not Joe Biden.
Joe Biden defers to Anthony Fauci.
Yeah,
I say let me say, Ralph, the pandemic is over.
The pandemic is over in Mexico. I'm hoping it is.
So you can get back in, or they won't let you in, or they won't let you out. When's the new book coming out? What's it about? See, we were talking about how podcasters make money, and there are some podcasters.
Yeah, you'll find out when I'm ready to say.
Oh, this is hush hush. We don't even get a little taste here.
You get no taste. No.
No taste, no
Dude,
smell.
I'm still working on two things that people do know about, which is the I guess not even rebranding, but it's the new show with the old guest with Ben.
SirGene Talks More.com.
Yeah, SirGene Talks More, exactly. It's it's just to goodoldboys.com.
Good old boys.
And yeah.
Never meaning no harm.
Yeah.
Beats all you never saw. Been in trouble with the
tagline.
Law since
that's
the day
our
they were
tagline.
born.
It's all. Yeah. How did you know what our tagline is? You must have had access to some preview material.
Yeah, well, I hacked your server. I mean,
you must have hacked my server using Russians or something.
Well, the Russians are the best at that.
At hacking servers, yes.
Yeah, they are.
Exactly.
They know where Hillary is at all time.
That's all.
They keep very close track.
But
what about these?
Well, it's because Putin, he listens to what Trump asked for. Now Trump said, "Hey, can you send us a copy of what was on Hillary's server, please?"
Right. Yeah, that would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, have you ever actually made money on selling books on Amazon, or is this just a?
I mean, theoretically,
you didn't lose money.
I would make money. I mean, people do buy the books, but I have bought way more books than the amount of money that I made off of book sales to give away.
That makes sense. What is the system like when you want to self-publish? So, I mean, granted, I know there's a lot that goes into.
Easy.
So once you have, once you have the whole manuscript done and it's in whatever format they need, is it just basically upload and and they do the rest?
Pretty much. So you can either use a PDF and upload that if it's already all exactly to spec for print. Or you can upload it in like ebook format, and they will then reflow that into the actual publishable version. And I've got software that I bought years ago that helps to automate that process. So it's basically like layout software for books.
Nice.
And it also does the ebook. So you can preview what the print book looks like. You can preview what the ebook looks like, depending on the size of the device they're using. I think most people these days, there again, Amazon pretty much won, and the Kindle is the main one people use. There used to be, there were multiple readers, but there's such a small sliver percentage of the population these days, it really doesn't matter.
Well, and they're relatively similar formats anyway.
Yeah, there used to be multiple ones. It's all, I think, EPUB at this point. But
Amazon just throws theirs into Mobi, which is just kind of EPUB with extra crap added in to keep you from copying it, I think.
Probably, yeah. But either way, so you do all that, get it set up, spit it out to Amazon, and then Amazon takes maybe 2-3 days, and then it's up on their website and available. And it's easier for each subsequent book simply because you already did the stuff that you only do once.
Oh, right, for like being an author.
And about the author page and all that crap. So, yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, the hard part is writing the damn thing.
Well, of course.
I know a lot of people in that kind of self-publishing industry. In fact, Tucker Max, who's a guy that was one of the pioneers of self-publishing, he created a company to help people self-publish after he was a multi-time New York Times bestselling author. He really kind of ragged on the whole industry of publishing the way it's set up, and where basically the author gets the least money out of everybody.
Right.
It's kind of like the music industry.
Well, because everything used to have gatekeepers, and the internet has changed that.
Exactly. And so and this is back maybe 12, 14 years ago. He was talking about how crappy it is.
Well, and it's not just because of the fact that you have the Kindles and the other reading devices. Yeah. The fact that Amazon now has the ability to print paper books on demand.
On demand, yeah, exactly.
And they do a really good job.
Yeah, they're pretty good. They're not, like, they can't do on demand full color, full bleed.
Right.
But they can do the normal, they've been doing soft covers on demand forever. And they can even do hard covers now on demand.
Which makes a lot of sense. As we just talked about, we just take 1,000 books and rip the covers off because they didn't sell.
Mm-hmm.
Never having
the price of paper now, I don't know if they still would do that at the bookstore, because the price of paper now has gone up probably 10x to where it used to be.
So you want them back to recycle.
So it may be better to recycle versus paying the shipping fees. In the past, like the recycling netted you almost nothing, but the shipping fees were higher. So it didn't make any sense to actually get the books back. You just want to make sure that they don't get resold. But now, I don't know if that's still the case.
There was a new Paul McCartney release. I thought this was interesting from just a different take on how they were doing this, because McCartney's had 3 solo albums that he's released in his career, 1, 2, and 3. 3 is the one that was just released like after the pandemic started. And they did produce, if I'm remembering this correctly, they produced some copies of that by taking like a bunch of old worn out crappy copies of McCartney 1 and 2, melting down the vinyl and reusing that. So, which I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I guess vinyl is recyclable, right?
Yeah, just melt that stuff down and then re-stamp it. I thought this was interesting too. There was an article on some biomaterial that they're testing, making records out of it. It's like, this is never going to fucking work.
Oh, it'll work great because it'll put a time end of date on all records. So you'll have to rebuy your music. It's perfect. That's a great idea.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, well, something like the sound quality is like 90% of what vinyl is. It's like, do you not understand the people that buy vinyl? The sole reason most people buy vinyl is to be like,
yeah, because they're hipsters.
And they're like, the sound is so much better. The minute you degrade the sound, you kill the format.
Well, if you wanted good sound, you'd buy digital.
That's debatable depending on your equipment. Digital can sound very good. Yes. No question about it. It has a different sound. The vinyl, when done right, see, a lot of people don't realize that when you play a vinyl record, you're not supposed to have clicks and pops and the hiss throughout the whole thing.
Oh, aren't you? Oh, I thought that was the whole benefit of vinyl that you all like.
Right. No, it's not. I mean, and to me, it's like there are new, which is also, you want to talk about digital. I thought this was hilarious. One of the higher end turntable makers, I forget which one, but they just came out, this company did, with a box that goes in line. And basically what the box is digital processing to remove the pops and clicks. And I'm like, do you not realize the irony of using a digital device to remove a sound you don't want from the vinyl?
See, now somebody could come up with a physical processor box that goes in line and takes an audio signal and then writes it on a vinyl album, engraves it, if you will. They do that.
Yeah, they have this.
And then literally 3 inches later, there's a needle picking that sound up and then translating it to digital sound on the way out. So it's basically an analog filter.
Right.
And it's constantly just writing a couple of inches away from the read head.
Rewriting and erase and rewrite.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting concept.
Wouldn't that be just a crazy ass device somebody would pay a lot of money for?
Maybe, if he can make that happen. There was just a big thing, the Mobile Fidelity Sound Labs, who is a vinyl, I mean, they make CDs too, but their bread and butter is they've been known for repressing some classic titles and having the best sounding vinyl of that. And it came out, they were just having like a random conversation with a video vlogger, I'm guessing, because he was on YouTube, so vlogger. And he unveiled the fact that they were, he's like, well, they're using digital processing to give you this final product. And they're like, no, we're not. Come down to the factory. We'll show you. And when he went down to the factory, they were doing digital processing. And
oh, really?
Yes. And it's like, well, that there was a portion. So they would be taking the original tape. So yeah, maybe they took the original analog master tapes, but there was a phase where they digitized them to be able to work with them. And it was like super high res digital. It wasn't just, run of the mill, but still there was a digital part of that process. And for people that are really into the analog stuff, they don't want digital to be a part of it at all, which I think is kind of stupid. Just do whatever's going to get the best quality sound. That's all I want.
Yeah.
I don't care what you do, but the purist would be like, I would never buy an album if I knew it was digital at any point.
Yeah. And I remember back in the day, meaning the 80s, making sure that when I bought CDs, it had a DDD on the back, because otherwise it would sound like shit.
Oh, it had the DAD.
No, all of mine had triple D.
You like them triple D, huh?
I like them triple D. I don't like the A's in there. No, because you want digital recording, digital processing, and digital mastering.
And that they don't even show anymore.
Because I don't think there's any A's in anything anymore for a long time.
Well, there were a lot. Well, when you're dealing with anything that was recorded in the anything up to 1980 or so,
yeah,
everything's analog recording, so you have to start with the A. But that's why some of these things, like with the Beatles stuff, they've been re-released because it's like, well, the first time we made the CD, we kind of sucked.
Well, they can, but I think they can also just sample a lot of that stuff and just redo it from scratch digitally.
Oh, you can do some amazing stuff. A lot of these new releases, I think we've talked about after the Beatles documentary came out, that the technology is finally there where they can go to original mono tapes and separate the instrumentation from the vocals. It's hard word to say. The vocals. They can separate everything into their own track, so you can now massage that bass. You can bring the bass up or the drums down, which is amazing to me. The technology, the AI in that, to be able to take a mono recording and separate that back into individual tracks. Because if you go in with any newer recording, so if you go and listen to the latest Taylor Swift recording, as long as it was recorded in a studio and not at home or something, you probably got like 100 tracks that everything is individual, and the final result is the mix of all that.
Exactly. The mix becomes a much bigger thing.
Yes. Now, but you can go back to any of those individual tracks and remove them, bring them, make them louder, put a different processing, put a little more reverb on it.
Now, when did they start recording multi-track rather than just mixing multi-track?
The Beatles had, for most of their career, were at a 4-track machine. Now, when they got to the White Album days, which was like getting to about 1970, that's when it was like an 8 or 16 track they went to, which was still very limited compared to now computerized recording today. You pretty much have unlimited tracks.
Yeah, of course.
Which is why you can you have so many musicians that aren't really musicians anymore. And that was the way it was even going back. I remember the guy that produced Aerosmith was like, Steven Tyler song. If there's 100 words in the song, it was probably 100 takes, and they took one word from each take. You know, it was that piece together. But the final result, you just hear, it's like, oh, well, that sounds fine.
Yeah.
You don't know.
You really don't. But I think that, so like in the 1940s, big bands and stuff, that was just multi-mixed, but 2-track recorded.
Yeah.
So you got to imagine, like, how much better were those people at mixing?
They were damn good.
Because you had to do live mix.
Yeah.
So live mix, and then you end up with 2 tracks.
You had to set this up, and if the drummer came in too loud or, whatever, the take was no good.
Yep.
Which is why when you go back into the vaults of like Sun Records and that, Elvis and Johnny Cash, that the final song is often like take 14. So there were 13 either full or aborted takes.
Yeah.
Because they had to get the whole thing right. It wasn't like, now it's like, okay, we'll just go back and we'll fix that one note we missed in the solo.
Oh, yeah. They literally don't even need to do more than one take, because everything is recorded on a separate track digitally, so they can arrange the tracks later. But also, like, you're absolutely right, they can change the notes. They can stretch things out, change direction without affecting pitch.
Yes. They
can change the pitch without affecting duration. All these things are totally doable without even losing the character. So it's I think music in a lot of ways have shifted more from the performer to the producer.
Oh, definitely. When my buddy Tom took the stuff that we recorded in the basement here, and his buddy then added drums at their local church, I think, church basement, he added the drums. And they took him to a guy that would produce some stuff from like Brian Wilson and Mellencamp and
so
stuff.
You have you heard of a guy named Sean Meyer?
No.
So he's a producer that worked on a bunch of stuff.
But
you never heard of? Okay.
But this was where I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head now either, which I'm kind of kicking myself. But when he threw this stuff, they converted it from Logic, which is the Apple, into Pro Tools for Windows.
Mm-hmm.
And exactly what you're saying. It's like, oh, well, here the drum came in 1/100th of a second too late. So let me just move that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, holy crap. This is crazy what they can do. And just massage the stuff around a little. Oh, you want that sustain? You sustained it for 3 seconds. You want it to sound like you sustained it for 6? Oh, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
Just stretch that out. Doesn't change the character. It's like, it's crazy what they can do with the audio recording.
That's interesting. So I just looked up his production list of stuff. I've never heard of any of it, but I don't listen to modern music. So not really but G-Eazy, Demi Lovato, Ava Max.
Dealing with some big hitters.
Josh Golden, I don't know, Pentatonic.
Pentatonics, yeah, they're isn't that like a acapella
I have
group?
no idea. Cameron Forbes, Story Lens. Yeah, but anybody, see if I'm going to skim if I recognize.
I mean, the real question is, who is doing the audiobooks for your books?
I know, right? I need to do that. But anyway, the reason I brought him up is because he was at this thing that I was at, so I hung out with him. But it's funny because I hung out with him, but I've never heard of any of the shit that he's done.
You're like, I'm
sure he's never heard of anything I've produced either.
Well, that's true. I'm like, have you heard Unrelenting?
Yeah, I heard Unrelenting. But he seemed like a good kid. I mean, they all look like kids these days.
Well, you're 116, so everybody by relative.
As a kid,
yeah,
that's totally the case. That
absolutely very true. Absolutely true.
But yeah, I'll probably reach out to him. I was gonna chat with him and find out a little more. That's the thing is when you go to these events and you're off like having 7-course lunches and things, you just don't get a chance to really do a deep dive into what somebody does and what you just kind of get the short version of everything.
You're just there to enjoy the food.
Yeah, mostly. I mean, a lot of people were talking about how you really have to move your money into land right now because the stock market's completely going tits up.
Wait. Let me just ask. Do they mean you should buy property, or do you just take your cash and actually bury it somewhere in the land?
Know, right? No. They say the best thing to do is to buy trailer parks because that's where most people will end up living.
Oh, that's very true.
Yeah.
This is going to be the new world.
So there was a number of people. I mean, I'd say over half the people at this event were 8-figure folks.
And then you.
And then me. But I'm just a legitimate businessman. I'm not actually rich. So
you're trying to get there.
I work for a living sometimes.
One podcast and one book at a time. Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah. Yes. I'm counting on the podcast. But I've got the prepping company thing going. The products should be shipping out of China next week, supposedly.
EvilRussianPrepper.com.
Something like that. I'll announce it when it's ready, not before. And then, the other podcast with that I mentioned already,
the good old Gene Brother Boys.
The Gene Brother Boys, that'll start probably in the next couple of weeks. So I got a lot of shit I'm working on.
And when are you going back to Mexico?
Yeah, I need a vacation.
You just got home. Get a ghostwriter.
No, I refuse to do that. Everybody, I'm not kidding. Every single person I know who has books out there used a ghostwriter.
You're like, can you explain your book
literally, to me? Including JCD. Like, literally everybody.
Wait, the Vinegar book's not JCD?
The Vinegar book was ghost written, exactly.
It was also ghost produced and ghost published.
Ghost published mostly. Yeah, so it's definitely ghost published. But I refuse to do that. If I'm going to have my name on a book, I will be the one that wrote that book. That is my blood, sweat, and tears that went into it, and not in somebody else's.
I just want to see the bio on the book. I want to see your picture, and it'll say Gene Nevtuliev, and underneath it will just say totally legitimate author.
Well, I am a published author.
Right. That would be what you want, though, on the page there on the
just
book.
Gene Nevtuliev, published author?
Yeah. Totally legitimate published author. You have to add the totally legitimate part.
Totally legitimate. Yeah.
Published author. Yeah. I mean, anybody can put their book on Amazon and be a published author now, though.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody should, because then you could add that to your LinkedIn.
Well, and then technically, I never got to top. I never got first place on Amazon.
Never recommended in your category.
I was second in my category, yeah, for a little while.
It's not bad.
In I think it was business management, second overall.
Was that the week you bought 8,000 books for yourself?
That was exactly right. That was the week I bought 8,000 books myself. You're absolutely right on that.
Now, let me ask you this. For that week, did you actually get a bump from people that bought the book? Or did that help by being on the list?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, it doesn't take 8,000. I think that I had the misfortune of doing my book the same day that Penguin published a book in the same category. It doesn't even matter who the author was because it's a fucking Penguin book. So obviously it's going to be number one.
Obviously.
Yeah. So that was unfortunate. Had it not been for that Penguin book, I'm sure I would have gotten into the top spot. But all it really typically takes is about between 500 and 1,000 copies sold in one day.
Well, let's hope your timing is
not
better
a big number.
The next time. Let's hope the timing's better, that you don't have any competition.
Yeah, that mean it'd be nice to have better timing. And what I'll probably do is promote the book on all my podcasts, including this one, and tell people don't buy it until this date so that everybody buys it at the same time if you want to help. And what I do too is to encourage people to buy it just regardless of whether they want to or not, is I'll usually in that first week have it be 99 cents.
And then he'll buy it back from you at the full price later on.
I will totally not do that. but after a week, that'll go up to the normal price of $20.
It's a bargain at any price. As is this week's a bargain because there's actually two versions.
You can actually use my book to help you start a fire in case you're prepping.
That's very important. You're kind of crossing the streams now in what you got going on here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But this is a rare week.
Rare week. Well, this week, nothing's going on.
Well, we'll be back Friday, so there will be 2 Unrelentings this week. That's a rare week.
Oh, in that sense. Yeah, so we should talk about that. And I don't know if we want to do it publicly or privately. Is like, do we want to stay on Fridays? Because Friday for me was really mostly driven by the fact that I was working, which I'm not right now.
But you may be again.
I'm working. I'm just not getting paid.
That's not a good job.
I have plenty of work that I'm doing. It's just none of it's actually paying me right now. I mean, if anything, a lot of it is costing me money right now.
We may be moving around. We'll find a good schedule.
Yeah, I think we could move around. That's why somebody was surprised that are we on live right now? Well, yeah, we are right now. Doesn't mean we will be next Monday.
Or the next, or the one previous.
Or even the previous Friday.
Right.
Or Monday.
You never know.
Yeah.
It's the
Things
beauty.
can move around.
It's the beauty of podcasting. But with that said,
absolutely,
we will be back at some point.
Do we know who's on after us?
Today? On Tuesday? Yeah. Planet Rage is coming up in an hour with Larry Blender and Darren O'Neill.
Anybody between that and this?
No, it's just 1 hour of whatever is on.
Of just white noise or whatever Bemrose has programmed.
Exactly. The No Agenda Stream, noagendastream.com. Yeah, today's a rarity. You get to hear me 2 different shows. Bonus. If you've never checked out Planet Rage, planetrage.show. And then tune back in to find all out about Gene's new business, totally legitimate business ventures. We hope you can invest.
Yeah. See, I was going to say something about needing infrasonic hearing for Planet Rage, but you cut me off, goddammit.
That'll happen.